Hello, I hope all is well. This is Prophet Desmond, a true prophet of God, the Moses of his generation. So, the topic of my message today is God works in mysterious ways, and this is something that I can personally testify to because I've experienced it. So, like in Hosea, right, one of the prophets in the Old Testament. Let's read Hosea, which chapter 1, verse 2. When the Lord first spoke to Hosea, the Lord told him, marry a prostitute and have a children with that prostitute. Now, when I actually read that book, I just recently read that book. I'm reading some other new Old Testament books. When I read that book, what first came to mind is why is God? That is kind of strange. But then when I look at the other books in the Old Testament, God's ways are like when you look at it logically, it may seem strange. When you look at the story of Job, we see that Job is a faithful servant, but God allows Satan to tempt Job. So the thing about God is, like, especially with theology has a little bit of logic in it, but God's ways are higher. There's one verse somewhere in the Old Testament that pretty much says that some things are made secret to God and some things are made known. So at the end of the day, you can go to an apostle, you can go to a prophet. There's certain things that God reveals and certain things He doesn't, and there's certain things that we'll just never understand about God. And when I look at my life, I can personally testify that God works in mysterious ways. Now, one of my mentors, who's also a prophet, I remember one time I was talking to him about my personal struggles that I have from here and there, and he told me that God is gonna use you for that struggle to also help people who are also struggling. He pretty much told me that God is going to use me for that struggle to help other people who are struggling through that. Now, I'm not going to disclose what I was struggling with, but I was like, wow. So, God may sometimes, right, allow certain obstacles in our life to transform and mold us. Another thing that was revealed to me from God was that with what I'm going through is to strengthen me and better me. There was one time that I lost somebody very close to me, and what was revealed to me is that God is going to use that experience to strengthen me. So God works in mysterious ways. Now, sometimes, like when what we're going through, we may not really be able to see the light, but you don't really know what God is really using that for. You may lose a job, and you think that it's the end of the world, but you don't know that God wanted to get you out of that job to get you to a better job. You may they may have been this woman or man that you really wanted to get to really marry and that you had like romantic feelings for, but things don't work out. In your mind, it's the end of the world. You feel like, oh, God is cruel. Why couldn't He allow that to happen? But you don't know that God has a better partner in store for you. You mean so at the end of the day, like we don't scripture, all things work together for the good of God and those who love God. So at the end of the day, good or bad, you really don't know what God has in store for you. At the moment, it may seem like it's something unpleasant to you, but you don't really fully understand it. Now, when I personally heard that God was going to use one of my struggles to help me bring people out of bondage, I was like wow. Because like I mean, it's something that I struggled with for a long time, but I don't really like to talk too much about it. And I'm like, wow. So sometimes God will use certain things in our life to build and transform us. Like it kind of reminds me like you can never really. It's hard for you to relate with somebody when you haven't been in their shoes. I can relate to somebody who's mourning because I have mourned. I can relate to somebody who's been broke because I understand poverty. I felt poverty. I can relate with somebody who who has lost faith in the school system and the system in general. Because even me, I have a bachelor's degree, and right now I feel like school system is a scam. When I do my research and when I really look into it, I feel like it's a scam and it has failed us. So like my struggles in life that God has allowed me to go through has transformed me. It's made me more compassionate because I've experienced hardship myself. It's made me more understanding and patient because even through that hardship, God has gotten me out of it to see better days. So at the end of the day, God's ways are mysterious, but it's for our greater good. It's just like a parent. That parent takes that candy away from a child, and that child will just be crying. He's gonna think that the parent is cruel, but you don't know but it may hurt you in the process, but you don't know that it's for your own good. And it's the same thing with God. God may allow things in our life or do things in our life that it may feel like hardship. It may feel like it may just make you want to break down, but you don't know what He's preparing you for or what He's using it for. So thank you very much. Have a blessed one.